Back to tonight's top story, the question pretty much everyone is asking. To paraphrase those rock icons, the Clash, will he stay or will he go? The New York Times reports 81-year-old President Biden told a, quote, key ally that he may have to drop out if he's unable to convince the American people he's fit enough to serve another term. Numerous lawmakers and pundits, including those inside his own party, also now calling on him to step aside. The White House, however, insists the president is absolutely not stepping down. Let's discuss what U.S. allies and enemies are making of this presidential race chaos with Fox News contributor Steve Hilton and the Republican nominee for Congress in Virginia's 7th District, Green Beret veteran Derrick Anderson. Derrick, if I can come to you first on the question of our enemies, you have fought those enemies on behalf of this country. What do you think that they would make of this absolute chaos in the presidential race right now?
Yeah, Jonathan, I mean, one of the things we have to look at is President Biden's performance at that debate, not only from his mental state and or his physical state, but just his positions in general have been weak. And so it emboldens our enemies. It emboldens our adversaries, whether it be Russia, whether it be China in the South China Sea, whether it be Hamas and their attacks on Israel, whether it be the Iranian-backed proxies that continuously attack our service members overseas. So when our enemies smell weakness, they're going to exploit it, and that's exactly what we're have on our hands right now. So we need to be showing strength, we need to be showing deterrence, and that's why this election in November is so important.
And Steve, one of our allies, none greater obviously than the UK. You are so well connected there. What do you think they are thinking as they look at what is going on here?
Well, we don't need to guess, because we've actually seen a number of leaked messages from diplomats in the UK and elsewhere, horrified by what they saw, because they believe in the transatlantic partnership with America, particularly the UK, and they want to see a strong president. And actually, that's more important. The strength part is more important than the party, because often when it comes to the kind of foreign policy decisions that form the basis of international discussions, it's not really that partisan compared to some other areas of policy. They just want to see an America that can lead. And what they saw that night, you see in text, I mean, this is just one of them. You saw text saying, this isn't a great look for America, at the risk of stating the obvious. There's a story here, U.S. allies wince at Biden debate performance. I mean, they can't believe it. Now, actually, they should believe it, because if they'd have been watching Fox News the last couple of years, they'd have seen that the debate was no aberration, and this is who he's been all along.
Yeah. Derrick, I imagine that every single member of our military wants to know that if the call comes in at 4 a.m. to the White House, you do not have a president who's going to say, I'm a little tired, I'm a little jet lagged. You want a president who's going to run to that Situation Room and make decisions to save American lives in an instant. I assume that's what our military wants. Would I be wrong?
No, I think you're absolutely right, Jonathan. I mean, that's what being a leader is being there during those tough times and making those decisions. And so I can say one of the things, being a veteran myself, President Biden's statements on the debate stage when he said, under his watch, there were no deaths, that hit hard to me, especially when the White House just recently put a press release out talking about how President Biden acknowledged the fact that he was at Dover. He saw the 13 U.S. service members and their transfer of remains. It hit hard to me. It's hit hard to a lot of our service members because, we see him just not paying any attention. He's not even acknowledging it. So it's hit hard to me. I think it's a slap in the face not only to our service members, their families, but to those Gold Star family members as well.
Derrick, just sticking with you for a moment, do you get the sense from your contacts within the military that a lot of military personnel simply believe that President Biden should not be the commander-in-chief?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things, so I have a whole bunch of Green Beret friends that are still serving overseas. In fact, a few of them just came back recently. And one of the things that was really disheartening for them is while all these Iranian-backed proxy organizations and people were firing upon our service members with those kamikaze drones and what have you over the last several months, they were told to sit tight. They were told that they couldn't respond. And so when you're giving that sort of rhetoric to our service members who are fighting our fights overseas, it doesn't sit well with them.
Steve, let me wrap up with you with a slightly different subject here quickly. We've got elections in the UK and France. The UK seems to be turning to the left with a Labour government likely to be elected. France and other nations, frankly, in Europe seem to be turning to the right. What does that say about politics in Europe overall, Steve, if anything?
Well, I think that the common factor in both the French and the UK elections and elsewhere is a ruling establishment, a ruling elite, a ruling party that's just totally out of touch with the people. In France, you have this arrogant, they call it Macronism, Emmanuel Macron, and part of the elite who's just total disregard, for example, of the impact of his climate policies on gas prices for people who work in the agriculture industry and so on, and also the impact of immigration. In the UK, you have a Conservative government totally failing to make the most of the opportunities of Brexit, to cut taxes, cut regulations, make life easy for small businesses, and to control immigration. None of that happened, and that's why they're going to get kicked out tomorrow.
Steve, great to see you. Another Brit who had the good sense to become an American citizen, like I. And Derrick, thank you, sir, for your service. Happy 4th to both of you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Jonathan.
My recommendation to